The water became so clear as you can see the fish over there. These rustling bushes are like sunshine in my ear, as if nature has nothing to fear. The ozone layer is healing, the atmosphere is cleaning, global warming is declining, and the world is going charming. Everything is revealing one thing, that human beings are destroying everything. Alas, nature has taken its revenge and thrown everyone in that cage. But the damage that human did is out to avenge. As I wonder how a window can signify the things we are going by. The outbreak of pandemic let us all aloof, and we became strangers beneath a single roof. Isolation became our destination, but still infinite, invincible determination. Courage, strength, grit, and with all our might, no need to lose hope, we must unite and fight. Let's make this world a better place where humanity prevails, love wins, and hatred fails. What matters is eternal peace of mind to save the world from further damage. Let's quarantine. Done.
Good.
That's a beautiful piece. It was a beautiful piece, beautifully presented. Thank you so much, Aisha. We would now call upon our next poet, who is Nimai Gorai, and his poem is entitled, What a Crisis Is This? Nimai Gorai, whose poem is entitled, What a Crisis Is This? Nimai, I call upon
Yes,
you to
ma'am.
unmute yourself and read your poem. You can also be on
Ye-
video mode if it's not a problem with you.
Yes, ma'am. Uh, a very
Yes.
good evening to all of my respected teachers and our guest, Dr. Parsa Singh. So, my name is Nimai Godai. I am a student of zoology, and I am very much uh, known about the viruses which are there in my syllabus. So I have tried to connect zoology in my poem, and I have written this poem which is named as COVID-19 Crisis. So my poem starts with, what a crisis is this? What a crisis is this? Corona is responsible for it. No country is safe from corona. We are facing lockdown for it. Lots of people have died due to corona, but some of them have defeated it. Corona is a virus of danger. We are not less strong than it. We are weeping, suffering, and afraid, but we will not get lost from it. Corona is neither living nor non-living. We, the people, must be vaccinated against it. Corona has affected every field of work. Exams have been postponed due to it. Corona transmits from person to person. Masks, sanitizers can prevent it. PM Modi has made rules for us. Policemen, doctors, scientists save us. We have a hope of getting rid of corona. Like polio, we will forever end it. So this was my poem in which I tried to show the effect of corona as well as I have shown the hope which we have that we will get rid of corona. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Nimai. That was a wonderful presentation from coming from a biology student. That was a wonderful poem, you know. And instinct, Nimai, even
Yes, ma'am.
Darwin's grandfather first spoke about evolution in the form of poetry. So it's not that, you know, you cannot connect biology with poetry. So there has been a tradition of, scientific poets, of biological poets. So we hope and pray and bless you that you continue this tradition.
Thank you,
We would
ma'am.
next call upon our poet Shreya Chakrabarti with her piece window that overlooked the grey path. So, Shreya, with her piece, window that overlooked the grey path. Shreya, please unmute yourself. Also, if you can, please be on video mode so that we can see you as you recite your poem.
Hello, a very good evening to everyone present here. I hope I'm audible clearly.
Yes, yes, Shreya, you are audible. Audible and
Okay.
visible, yes.
So the title of my poem is The Window That Overlooked the Grey Path. The first cry was heard through my window. Looking outside, I saw the newborn on the footpath. The vulnerable mother, to the forces of nature now owed the welfare of the child, as she is destined to live on the grey path. The first word was heard through my window. Looking outside, I saw the crawling little paws tied to the lamppost beside their dilapidated household. The child discovered the essence of love, life amidst the irreparable flaws. The first conversation was heard through my window. Looking outside, I saw the playful girl laying on her mother's lap. Mysteries did unfold. Under the starlit sky, they both in love cuddled. The first question was heard through my window. Looking outside, I saw the inquisitive eyes, dressed in an old school uniform that the mother herself repaired and sewed. On the footpath she stood standing, asking her mother when the sun for them will rise. The first cheer was heard through my window. Looking outside, I saw the trophy-adorned hands. The mother who all these years saw only helplessness so close, finally had something to rejoice about, as with the priceless jewel the daughter stands. The first sigh of relief was heard through my window. Looking outside, I saw the warrior in the shining armor. That day ended their hardships and sorrows. From the footpath, the daughter rose and built her castle of honor. Thank you so much. Hope you all were able to relate to my poem. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Shreya. That was a lovely piece, beautifully recited. We next call upon Anjali Kumari with a poem From Sunshine to Sunset. Anjali Kumari with a poem From Sunshine to Sunset. Just a second, Anjali. Vishwajit Singh, please stop presenting. The contents of your screen are visible to everybody. It's not good for your privacy. Please press on the stop presenting button. Vishwajit Singh, please press on the stop presenting button. Vishwajit Singh, please stop presenting. Yes, we can continue. We call upon Anjali Kumari with a poem From Sunshine to Sunset.
A very good afternoon to all my teachers, our honorable guest, and my dear friends. So I am here with my poem. Yes,
Anjali,
ma'am.
if you could
Yes,
be
ma'am.
on video mode. If you could be on video mode, we could see you also as you recite your poem. Is that possible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Students, if you are unable to see Anjali because she is presenting on the screen, you can find Anjali's icon from the people section and pin it to your screen, and you will be able to see Anjali. Vishwajit Singh, I do not understand why you cannot stop presenting. Vishwajit Singh, I will remove you from the presentation. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We have our professor in charge, Dr. Mohammad Riaz sir, with us. We welcome him also.
Good evening,
and we also
sir.
have Dr. Piyush Bala ma'am from Ranchi, we welcome her also.
Thank
Good
you.
evening, ma'am.
Yeah.
Thank you, Riyaz sir. Thank you, ma'am, for joining us. Yes, Anjali, if you could be on video mode so that we could see you. And you could continue with your presentation from sunshine to sunset. Yes.
A very good afternoon to all teachers and my dear friends and our honorable guest. So I am here with my poem From Sunshine to Sunset. From sunset to sunshine, from dusk to dawn, I frown every second, peep out of window and moon. My homeland earth is gradually turning to graves. I shout in pain, "Oh parallel world, you cannot take away my fellow mates." With every new case of COVID-19, my heart is shattering into pieces. Some die by hunger for food, some wander like Ulysses. Dreams are losing color, everything seems to be fading. I am caged here with sachets of hope around. Soon I heard a feeble sound. Oh child, be wise like British, don't be so fragile. Once again will our motherland laugh, sky will shine again, and stars will spark. Lilies will dance again and bloom with joy. West wind will blow again, touching our soft cheeks. Nightingale will again sing a song of love, and we will again admire daffodils. Till then, be caged, nested in our homes. Breathe and calm. Homeland will be fine very soon. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Anjali. That was a wonderful piece, and you recited it very beautifully. I next call upon Ekta Dogra with a poem, A Window's Lament to the Hanging Limp Hand. Ekta Dogra, A Window's Lament to the Hanging Limp Hand. Ekta, I call upon you to unmute yourself, to be visible if you can, and to read out your piece to us.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ekta, and my poem's title is A Window's Lament to the Hanging Limp Hand. Walls swished blue carry a hand limp, hanging across and out of my maroon ring, as listless as the shriek of a Termalian as reaction of a raging gas, throwing a hissy fit with the acrid sting of an acid, mephitic of the swirling jets that brought me the hand's owner, oozing out of her own two bright blue windows rim, halting mid-cheek with silent understanding, just as the hand placidly let out of me hands. She understood herself, and so let herself go. And I had cradled stonily, her arms crossed once. I became her beginning, and I carried her end, to the glow softly filtering inside me, silver and lovely and breathtaking, certainly taking her breath away. My sentient cousins now close below her brows, and she looks so serene as she wears the nightly robe, dotted with argent globes. I secrete her within the beginning and end, and allow the first sweet stroke of understanding to ruffle her lone wiry stand. All those days she had kept me locked, and I could but only reflect the bustling street I saw, tinting her a lonely shade that she bore with a bow meek of head. If only I could have held her hands, now limp, that then a tuneless rhythm had drummed on my sill, and said, "Open me, open my lids and open yours. You will see, then, you will see." And she did open both, mine and hers, only to look at the lamp dangling on the wholesome roof and extinguish hers in shivers. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ekta. That was a beautiful piece. We call upon our next poet, Masira Alam, with her piece, Through the Window. Masira Alam with her piece, Through the Window. Masira, are you here? Masira Alam, you are unable to unmute yourself? See, there will be a red microphone button. Click on your own icon. You will find a red microphone button. Please press that to unmute yourself. Masira, till you try unmuting yourself, maybe we can call upon the next poet. So I call upon Shreya Guha with her poem, A Poetic Justice. Masira, please try unmuting yourself. Please take help from your friends. In the meantime, there are two other people to go. We can have them and maybe we can have you at the end. Please try unmuting yourself. In the meantime, we call upon Shreya Guha with her piece, A Poetic Justice. Shreya, are you here? Am I audible to you? Please unmute yourself, if possible, be on video mode, and let us have your poem.
Ma'am, I'm unable to switch on the video. I think there is some technical issue.
No technical issue, perhaps. No technical issue, perhaps. There will be a red button just where your mute button is.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
There will be a video icon.
Yes,
there will be a
ma'am.
video icon there. Click on that. If it's possible, okay. If not, fine. We can go ahead without that. You are pretty audible, quite clear.
So may I recite it this way, ma'am?
Yes, of course you may.
Thank you.
So we have Shreya Guha with her poem, A Poetic Justice.
Good evening to all my teachers and my friends. This is Shreya Guha from Semester 3 English Honours, and today I'm going to recite a poem titled COVID-19, A Poetic Justice. A bad dream perhaps we are going through, such we will face, was imagined by who? The busy world is at a halt, time at rest, overpowered by a strong invisible foe, being the mightiest. Glancing out of the window with grave thoughts, I seeked to this an end. At a flash of thought, I asked nature, is that your friend? It caused immense loss to us, but none to you. Instead, you haven't been so gracious in a decade or few. The flowers, like freckles of rainbow, dance with the breeze. Enthralled with greenery, elated are the trees. Glistering is Ganga at the flash of sun's ray. Caressed cheerfully by the climate, waved by the serene air through its way. Birds seem chirpier, rejoicing the sky, flying mile. Animals, to admire their independence, came out of the forest for a while. Dear nature, you seem unshackled. From oppressions you are freed, and now are in mood to punish us for our greed. Hearing this remorseful tone, nature said, I am a mother, child. For all your losses I regret. So brutally can't punish I, but your own fate. The pandemic arrived to teach you all a lesson of sate. Man forgot his humanism, selfishness was at its rage. COVID brought mankind and its ultimate truth at the same page. It called for unity, for respect to the ones who risk their lives for all. Insisted a father to focus more than his work on his baby's call. When this will end, the world won't be the same. Helping hand would come up in need, regardless of the name. Life after this will not just revolve around work or to obtain, but then a new spirit to live and value of love would pertain. Thank you so much.
Very beautiful, Shreya. That was a lovely piece, and your voice made it lovelier.
Thank
We will next call upon Masira Alam, who has been able to unmute herself, and she will read out her poem through the window. Masira Alam with her poem Through the Window.
Good evening, everyone. Myself, Masira Alam, student of Karim City College. Ma'am, am I audible to you all?
Yes, Masira, you are very
Yes,
much
sure.
audible and visible. Go ahead.
Okay, so the title of my poem is Through the Window. It's my own feelings that I felt during all these days of lockdown. So here I go. Just a normal day has passed with the people locked inside. Just a simple night has passed with all the birds free outside. I sit here gloomy all day, leaning on the windowsill, trying to find some happiness, but oh, all in vain. As tears roll down my cheek, I try to put up a smile that's fake. Nothing remains in here for joy, for everything has turned into grave. I realized, now that I have realized, we all are locked in a prison that was meant for our mother nature. We tried to tame everything here, but oh, look, this is karma. This is karma, that we ourselves have become slaves. And indeed, now we have no one to blame. So that's all for my poem. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Masira. That was a wonderful poem. We next call upon our final student poet for today's session, Ayush Kumar, with his poem Temple of Bells. I invite Ayush Kumar with his poem Temple of Bells.
Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, Ayush, you are very much audible and visible. Please go ahead.
A very good evening to Varsha ma'am, all my teachers and my dear friends. I hope everyone is safe in their homes. Thank you for joining. Myself Ayush from English Department, Sem 1. So in this very short poem, I use the practices of ancient Nordic temples and Siamese culture as a metaphor for the trying times we are in today, and have tried to provide some hope for the near future. So I present to you Temple of Bells. Hark, the temple bells toll, for the monks to step out of their chambers and walk along water-logged passageways, chanting hymns in praise of deities who reside in the bells that hang by rusted chains, jingling as they sway in the coastal breeze. Hark, the temple bells toll, for the dancers to light the oil lanterns and smear the aged walls with pastes of ash and clay, beckoning the gods and goddesses sleeping in the dangling bells to alight and bless. For the coast is theirs, and theirs are the people. Hark, the temple bells toll, for the seabirds to gather and chirp the most harmonious songs lauding the bygone deities, while passing by sailors in their majestic vessels blow their foghorns as an ode to the sleepy numen of the temple to look after them as they voyage onward the deepening sea. Thank you very much. That was all from myself. Thank you.
Thank you, Ayush. That was a wonderful piece.
Thank you.
And with Ayush's poem, we come to the conclusion of our session for a reading by our student poets. Now, of course, we await the most interesting session of the evening, and that is a reading and a discussion with our guest, Varsha Singh. Varsha, over to you. I would first invite from you a feedback on the poems that you have just heard from our students.
Thank you, Vasudhi. I hope I'm audible to everybody.
Yes, Varsha.
Okay.
You're perfectly audible. Perfectly.
Thank you. So that was a beautiful, beautiful reading session. Oh my God. The students didn't seem to be like in their early age of writing. They sound so mature. They sound so amazing. And I would like to start with Aisha's presentation. She read a poem, As I Sat by the Window's Side. I felt like I'm reading a romantic poet. She took us to the romantic period, and then she slowly moved into the contemporary world, and she showed a lot of hope through her poem. So I felt that there was a travel going on in her poem from the romantics to the contemporary world. So I really loved Aisha's presentation. Her voice is also good, and the poem was beautifully done. Next, we had Nimai Gorai with his poem, What a Crisis Is This? Oh, well, Nimai's poem was quite different. He connected science with literature in a very interesting way. It was a poem which describes the period. If a person reads the poem, What a Crisis Is This, after 10 years, after 10 years, the person would be able to understand that when this poem was exactly written. It is that clear. So Nimai's poem was amazing. Another presentation was done by Shreya Chakrabarti, and a poem was Window That Overlooked the Grey Path. Such a rich poem. I have not read such a rich poem for a very long time, and her narrative was very captivating. A beautiful, beautiful poem by Shreya Chakrabarti. Then we had Anjali Kumari. I felt like I'm reading a British poet, by the way. Her poem was really beautiful, from sunset to sunshine, beautifully done, and nice presentation also. Then we had Ekta Dogra, who read her poem A Window's Lament to the Hanging Limp Hand. Ekta's voice is so powerful, so interesting. Her poem had this, amazing power with a beautiful representation. I was really engaged throughout her poem. Next presentation was made by Masira Alam, and her poem was Through the Window. Masira beautifully talked about the bitter reality of the world in a very distinct way. The poem was powerful, different, and very rich. We also had Shreya Guha's poem, A Poetic Justice. Shreya's poem gives us so much of hope in these times, actually. Her presentation was beautiful and a very, very powerful poem, one of my favorite. Then we also had Ayush Kumar with his Temple of Bells. Ayush has used amazing metaphors in his poems, and that is a lovely, lovely poem. I would I would wish to read it twice, thrice, because the poem has so rich content. So I loved the poem of Ayush as well. So all the 8 presentations were amazing, beautifully done. And the most interesting part is these students have such beautiful sense of metaphors, similes, thoughts, ideas, what to present, how to present, and everything. And I think they're going to be brushed up as amazing creative writers in coming days. So my best wishes for all of them, all the 8 students who made their presentations and made the session really rich. So I have learned a lot during this session through the students basically, and I'm going to think about them for a very long time now. So that was the feedback about the students from my
Yes,
side.
Varsha, thank you. And I at least, and I'm sure all of us here are immensely surprised that within such a short span of time, you could make such accurate observations about each particular poet and each particular poem. So that shows how close a reader you are, and we are very, very, we are very grateful, and we are very proud to have you here. And I think the next stage of this discussion would be where you could talk about your journey as a poet, and you could, offer to our students some advice on the art of poetry. How does the writing come about? How do you think, your experience in 2 languages at least has shaped your poetic sensibility? And what would you advise them to read, and how would you advise them to work along so that they may, polish their craft as poets? Over to you, Varsha.
Thank you, Basuvi. Thanks a lot. So, my journey of writing poetry started at during my MPhil, basically. I was scared of writing in the beginning because I felt whatever I'll write is going to be rubbish. So it happened through translation. I started translating poems during my MPhil dissertation, and I started reading the poems very closely. I had to translate a complete collection of English poems into Hindi, and that too, the difficulty was that all the poems were erotic. And translating English erotic poems into Hindi is another level of difficulty because we can't use certain terms which are used in English as it is in Hindi. It will be a blunder, big blunder. So I went through a lot of trouble during that phase when I was translating those erotic poems into Hindi. I had to take care of the emotional level of Hindi people, Hindi readers who would be reading those poems. I had to take care of the emotional level also, and the cultural understanding, cultural values which are supposed to be taken care of and everything. So that is when I started understanding the value of close reading. I had to read each and every poem almost 20 to 30 times to make accurate translation. And it took me almost 6 months to complete the translation of 80 poems. So that is when I realized that I can maybe during that time one more interesting thing happened, that when I was translating these poems, some of the poems were mistranslated and they came out to be something original poems. When I showed the poems to the original poet, he said, Varsha, they don't seem to be translation, they seem like you have written something of your something original. So that is the time I realized that maybe I am not that bad in writing. I can give it a try. So I started writing since then. I started with a bit of Hindi. Then I felt that my training is, because my training is in English, so maybe I can do better in that. So I moved into English, but I carried on with both English and Hindi, and I carried on with my translation as well, because translation is something which has, I feel, crafted me in a certain way. All right. So now I would be discussing a bit about the art of poetry, and then maybe I'll discuss about the tips which maybe I can share with the students, which I used to do when I started writing. The first important thing is why do we write poetry? What is the aim of poetry? The first thing is it gives us pleasure. Another important thing is it needs to have some some purpose. It should add to life. It should add something to the society. So the first thing which should be done when we write poems is to register, to acknowledge the period we are living in. Because not everyone can write, not everyone can recite. So it is important to voice your opinions, people who write, to voice your opinions, as well as give voice to the people who don't have that option to write and reach to other people. So that is one very important thing that I feel personally. Now, anything can be turned into poetry. A piece of chalk, a blackboard, a whiteboard, a fan, anything. But the difference that we can make is by the way of representing it. My teacher always says that, there is nothing original in this world. Everything has already been said and done. How can we be original? We can be original by telling the same thing in a different way. Our way of representation would be our originality. So we can talk about anything. Like there have been so many people who have been recently writing about roti. Why? Because there was an image floating recently about about a track where rotis were spread around, and there have been migrants who have been traveling, right? So that image of roti took everybody, everybody's attention, and many people started writing about rotis, about hunger, about migrants, because we are seeing them. So it's important to acknowledge all these things happening around you and then write about them. My favorite poet, makes poetry out of anything, out of leaves, out of grass, out of trees, out of insects, out of relationships, everything actually. And I find that is artistry, that is poetry. So poetry is something, like we discussed, that can be made out of the simplest forms, but out of these simplest forms, poems are something that become extraordinary. Okay, so what are the important things that the budding poets need to keep in mind? The most important things, which my teacher taught me when I started writing. He used to tell me that, Varsha, you're going to get into trouble if you don't do this. So you are supposed to carry a small notebook all the time with yourself and a pen. Because it happens like even when you are sleeping, a thought will come to you and it will never come back. You will have to get up and jot that idea down. When you are walking, you may get an idea and it will go away if you don't write it down, jot it down. So it's important that we make note of all these things. So for the budding poets, it is important that they should start harvesting, sieving, creating a fixed deposit of similes, metaphors, together, gather them all together. For example, I can give you an example of a metaphor. The situation can only be described as if it was a rotten skin of a ripe mango. As if it was a rotten skin of a ripe mango. Okay, so something like that. We'll have to create that complete, vocabulary, complete dictionary for us, where we have a lot of metaphors and simile which we can use later on in our poems. The more resources you have, the more resources you gather from your experience, the better it is. It is important to create a notebook and start collecting all these similes and metaphors together. Now, we were talking about the image of roti on the railway track. Right? Many poets have discussed about this roti thing in their different ways. Not in recent time. This idea of representing roti in different ways has been there since very long. A very famous Bangla poet who died when he was 21, called Shukanta Bhattacharya. He wrote about roti, and he compared roti with moon in a very unique way, like nobody has ever done. Right? And the translation of that section where he compares roti to moon is like that. The full moon looks like a burnt roti. I think my Bangla friends would be able to connect the poem I'm talking about. The section is, the full moon looks like a burnt roti. I've never seen anybody comparing a burnt roti with a full moon. So that is one of the most original expressions I have seen. So it is important for us, for the budding poets, to understand how to create these unique metaphors, to understand the value of similes, to understand the value of creating good vocabulary, so that you can use it later on. So there are many more metaphors based on moon as well. Like Yahya sir in the beginning himself talked about, made a reference of moon. There have been so many representation of moon. So these are the important things that you need to keep in mind when you start writing, when you start building up your vocabulary. All right. And another most important thing which you need to keep in mind is that you need to read a lot. You need to be a vast reader to understand the value of writing. It doesn't come in a day. It takes a lot of time. Anyone cannot start writing in a day. Anyone cannot start writing in the most perfect way in a day. You need to cultivate it slowly and gradually, and then maybe you would be able to satisfy the needs of your readers, the needs of the society, and maybe that will be the final win-win situation for the art of poetry. That was it from me. Thanks a lot. Over to you, Basudhi.
Thank you, Varsha. That was very, very, useful advice for our students, and you rightly mentioned some wonderful poems. In fact, the poem by Shukanto that Varsha was talking about, that's a very famous line in Bengali. It reads, Chand jano jhalshano ruti. So the moon appears to me as a burnt chapati. So this was a very, very brave metaphor in the times when it was composed, because the moon has always had a tradition of being linked with, women and with beloveds. So this was something which kind of created a rupture in that tradition. So Varsha has very rightly spoken about how, we have to be alert to, such images, such metaphors, which are strewn all around us, which are basically, scattered all around us in the day-to-day conversations. And we must try, to build the contemporary times that we are living in. We must try to build it into our diction. So Varsha has rightly emphasized on these things. Yes.
Basudhi, I would like to read two poems which are related to roti, basically, which I forgot doing. So there is this poem which which is recent,
and then it will be followed by a reading of Varsha's own poetry.
Yeah, sure. So this poem was published in the Live Wire on 14th May itself, recently, yesterday itself. Okay, and the title is "The Secret of the Gold Roti." Once upon a time, lost in the land of fairies, there was a little girl resting in the lap of her grandmother. Does everyone get a happily ever after? Curiosity beamed out of her. Her grandmother's voice turned an octave lower. Yes, only if you know the secret way. Her grandmother continued in a conspirational whisper. It is the secret of the gold roti, the one I shared with your mother, which someday she will share with you. An unsolved mystery can't bear to wait. The Surfeit led her to her mother the next day to uncover the secret that woman held dear, the secret of the gold roti. Her mother started peeling off the layers. According to her, it's a concoction of caregiving, obedience, and devotion, where flour is the start and a breadwinner by your side the end. It is symbolic of your sanskar. It represents your family's honor. It is the recipe of a happy married life. It is a measure of a woman's good life. The little girl stood enamored, with the beans spilled in front of her. She promised to stand by these words and build a life as good as her mother's. Some years down the line, when she walked around the holy fire, she used the secret of gold roti for a smooth sailing. Little did she know that the gold roti was just a start of the sacrifices she was forced to make, of her life being in a closed jar. Now, when she looks back, she sees her life mirroring her mother's, its hollowness a jarring revelation. Because the secret of the gold roti ensured that he lived happily ever after. So this is a poem by Mrinalini Kumar, who is a postgraduate in political science from University of Delhi. And this poem was published yesterday itself, and I found it really connected to today's session, so I used it. Another poem which I would like to read is my poem titled "The Forbidden Fruit," and there is a reference of roti again here as well. The forbidden fruit. While looking for a cure to boredom, you didn't see a thing which was seeping in below the humdrum of your prickly spread of ambushed assault to those who had no time to unroll their yesteryear's roti preserved for their offspring, Hemant, Shishir, Vasant, who waited but could no more, and out of hunger stole an apple of a madam's garden, who spoke fluent English all day to awe and let all madmen fall for her, who couldn't see the apple go. 3 seasons passed in a withered garden, and yet no clue. So that was the poem, The Forbidden Fruit. Another poem which I would like to read about hunger, which is based on the current scenario, is The Goddess of Descent. She would worship the headless deity Chinnamasta, who would cleave her head, self-sacrifice, to feed the hungry, for food was pus. Bhat, 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 she cried. But no, Her Aadhaar, her foundation, was not identified. She wished to sacrifice self to feed her plight, but no, that wasn't enough. She ran homewards, 50 miles, crouched at 42, and fell in hands of bones more hungry for her than her. Morning news anchor announced, breaking news, now Himalayas can be seen from Malabar. That was a poem, Goddess of Descent. Another poem which I would, because there have been a lot of poems which talked about the current scenario. Another poem which I would like to read is Caterpillar Existence. It reminds me of the last rain-soaked mountain I visited as a child with no hopes, no desires to achieve. Just the path which made love to my existence. That is when existence came into being, like a caterpillar which ends up becoming a butterfly. That was it from my side. Thanks a lot for being such patient audience. Listeners, over to you, Basudhi. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Varsha. So Varsha, is there any poem by you, particularly composed during this lockdown, which you would like to read? Any poem that mirrors
Yes,
in
I
your
read 3
idea
poems.
our theme of
Yes.
the world as a window? Yes, they were lovely. They were lovely, all the 3 poems. Is there anything else that you would like to share with our students?
Sure. I have a few more poems. So there is one more poem called Time. They are gone. I see their backs bathed in bloodiness while they chant hymns of goodness, of godliness. They have left their scriptures behind with sagas of slaughtered humanity for their offsprings. I hang in between, like clouds floating between earth and sky. I see them coming, the offsprings of Kali Yuga, bathed in bloodiness, chanting hymns of godliness, to leave their wanton tyranny behind, and I keep hanging in between for yet another wreck. I am time. मैं समय हूँ. Another poem is Imagination. Imagination, once pure like a child's smile, was interfered by platoons of knotted despair. In desperation, shifted homewards, collapsed to find once gay and lovely friend who wrote sonorous love notes while walked through water, through woods, tickled like berries about to ripe. Of late, whose heart was trampled by line of his heart, bleeding. He couldn't write till date, but now, when they finally find each other beneath the shelter of dulcet tunes, they tend, they soothe, they finally unloose. Another poem is Casteless. Last year, around this time, he asked her religion and her caste, like they write over matrimonial pages, looking for upper caste Hindu girl who is highly qualified and homely. He didn't know, maybe, or he was just another hypocrite. How do you define a woman's caste? A woman born to any was just another woman. So how does it matter anyhow? Stay in your limits, spoke a mud-clad skeleton to a torn and hungry child who took a fruit out of a temple basket. Even the one with gold bangles, who was taught to be in limits, stood quiet, waiting for her turn, which never ever came, after the greater sex was fed full and beyond. To the same torn child, and seemingly not to so torn child, when asked for religion, queried for caste, who couldn't find answer for ages, tonight spoke at last. We are beyond religions, we belong to no caste. That was Casteless. Another poem is Hollow. I see from my window, and it matches the theme of this session also. I see from my window, there is a hollow. But don't windows have hollow? Then why do they curse me? Your window has a hollow. I wonder, The meaning of hollowness might differ from me, from them. Air comes in, goes out, sun enters, blushes down. There is a space, unlike empty. It embraces, molds in everything that is transparent, like air, water, innocence. It's quiet, like serenity. It's unlike dull, risible. It can't go far away, catch air in its pocket, jump off the cacophony, pick rivulets of water, breathe in sun, breathe out moon. I still see from my window there is a hollow, unlike empty. So that was hollowness, hollow. Another poem is Lines. It talks about different kinds of lines, basically. Vertical, a wink away, serendipity. Moon opens an eye, and the world is semi-black. Horizontal, with a jolt, skyline turns red above eyelids, and the world is scarlet. Diagonal, smoked generosity hot off the pot, tyranny tumbles forth, and the world is smudged. Zigzag, heartbeats skip, snuggled between daylight and darkness, definitions exchange. Curved, beyond linearities, unobtrusive, heart is full of pansies, and the world is rainbow, mythless hues. Another poem is Smitten. I'm carrying on reading back to back some of the poems which I've recently written. Smitten. Fallen, counting memories, mind fails to segregate. Emotions pile up over the bedhead. Ashed dreams turn frozen, eyes stoned as rock. Heart is a dream catcher. Smitten, sharp twinge in heart. Pleasure takes over pain, smitten by a firefly. Emotions keep piling. Then there's one last poem that I would like to read is Moonlights. Doesn't look like the country I was born in, where birds were free as dreams, where dreams were unalloyed as dew, where love was sole religion, where care was nocturnal medicine, where respect was earned, not tamed, where hope was the most mighty. But now there is no reason to be hopeful, for hope has lost its way. Humanity has lost its religion, dreams have turned frightful, and birds are burning red. Love has lost its reason, like many moonlights ago. An ape lost its way and met an accidental preacher, converting it to bestiality, the becoming of man. There is no place to hide, for the beast has placed its progeny everywhere, even beside the clock arms. When they shout, tick, tock, like the accidental preacher from past, they scare the dreams of my offsprings and crave to convert them like many moonlights ago. So that was it from my side, I think. Many poems that I read of mine.
Varsha, they were beautiful, beautiful poems, and each poem, was so rich in its speech and in its silence. You have so many students typing comments in the chat box. They so much enjoyed your reading. So please have a look at all the appreciation that has come to you. Our students are extremely grateful for your presence here. And I think we come to an end of this program. And perhaps, either Yaya sir or Piyush Bala ma'am would like to, offer a feedback, would share their experience of the program before concluding it. Yaya sir, over to you. Yaya sir? Yes.
Yes. Thank you very much, Varsha. It was really nice listening to you. We are almost in the habit of reading your poems now, but we rarely get a chance to listen to you. And it was one of the chance. So nice listening to you. Thank you very much. It was really very good reading, beautiful reading. And more than that, it was a very meaningful reading. as per the demands and requirements of the situation. We are also very much thankful because of the words of encouragement that you have shown for our students, the great advice that you have given to our students. I hope that this will work for them to be better poets in future. Thank you the students also, thank you the participants also. And it was really a very nice experience, a very new kind of experience basically, because from the last 1 month or more during this lockdown, we are in the habit of all those engaging online classes, talking about the syllabus, uploading the video lectures, making the model questions. So it was a change, and it was a really good change today. Thank you very much, all of you.
Thank you everybody for being with us. It was a wonderful session. Poetry heals, and all of us by so many poems which have been read by our students, and by all these wonderful poems that Varsha has been so kind to share with us. Most of them, I think, are unpublished poems, and she has been kind to share them with us. And we look forward, we wish Varsha all the best for her upcoming 5th book of verse. We look forward to reading that as well. And with this, we come to an end of today's program. Thank you, students, for being with us. We hope to, put up a PDF version of these poems will be available on the college website. So all these 8 students who have sent in their poems. And also, yes, sir, I think in the next issue of Sparkling Span, we will be able to feature these poets. And I think with this, we may plan, this was quite successful, we may plan another edition of poetry reading during this lockdown. Thank you so much, everybody, for being with us. Thank you so much, Varsha, for your kind presence. Thank you, Piyush Bala ma'am, everybody. So we sign off here. Wish you a very, very, very productive and creative lockdown. Take care, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.